Let's get more on this now. We can speak to Amy Austin Holmes, visiting scholar at Harvard University, also a fellow at the Wilson Center in our Washington bureau now. And I know you did a lot of research in Syria this year, spent a lot of time, in fact, in this particular region. Essentially, the world seems to be standing by as one of the biggest armies in NATO launches a full-scale assault on what is a militia, really, isn't it? A very effective militia and crucial Western allies against the extremists of the so-called Islamic State. Is there anything to be done about it?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think that the events today are, frankly, unforgivable, what President Trump decided to do in terms of greenlighting this invasion by Turkey. The United States has spent months negotiating between Ankara and the Syrian Democratic Forces in order to come to an agreement on some kind of border security. And the events today actually make clear that it was never actually about border security, but about undermining this entire project in the northeast of Syria, which for more than 7 years now has operated with autonomy from the regime in Damascus. And Erdogan has openly stated on the floor of the United Nations that he wants to deport more than 2 million refugees from Turkey, Syrian refugees, back into Syria and put them in this, what he's calling, a safe zone along the north, which would essentially be a form of forced Arabization of the Kurdish and Christian regions of northern Syria, because the Syrian refugees in Turkey are predominantly Arabs from other parts of Syria. And so it's not just an attack on civilians who've been killed today, but it's also really the first step towards what he's openly stated that he wants to do, which is to engage in massive demographic re-engineering of the region and fragment the predominantly Kurdish region in the north.
And who does all this benefit? Clearly Turkey, if Turkey succeeds, but also presumably Russia and the so-called Islamic State.
That's absolutely right. It's a gift, essentially, to Russia and Iran, who are both backing the regime in Damascus. And it also could potentially embolden the sleeper cells, the Islamic State sleeper cells, which are still active in northern Syria, because as forces from the Syrian Democratic Forces become diverted to protect the border to Turkey, as the ground incursion is now also happening, it will become difficult for them to continue to protect the Al-Hol camp, for example, where there are thousands of ISIS detainees who are being held and their families. And it's not clear what will happen with those ISIS detainees that are now, if they're no longer able to protect the camp, they may escape, or they may be able to regroup and continue their insurgency. So it's an extremely worrying situation.
Amy Austin Holmes from Harvard and the Wilson Center, thank you so much.
Thank you.